The trade deadline is fast approaching, and boy howdy, there are some guys that need to get traded ASAP.
Get that guy, and who's that guy in the current trade market? Could it be? I'll throw another one out there.
Ooh.
Derrick Henry?
With so many big names on the block, let us dive into 10 blockbuster trade deadline deals that need to happen by Halloween Day. King Henry heads to the Queen City. Derrick Henry has been one of the few positives on a rather dismal Tennessee Titans team in 2023. With the Titans resembling nothing close to a playoff contender, trading their franchise star seems to be the only logical move here. Henry is a pending free agent and will be 30 years of age in January. The Titans certainly won't look to extend him long term, so GM Rand Carthen should be working the phones and driving up a bidding war for Henry's services. Among the top Super Bowl contenders, no team makes more sense for King Henry than the Cincinnati Bengals. Their offense has struggled with consistency to begin the series, and having the league's worst rushing attack through 6 weeks has not helped matters for Joe Burrow. Henry should be keen on chasing a Super Bowl with a top heavyweight like the Bengals. Imagine an offense with Henry, Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, all with Joe Mixon as your number 2 back? Whoa, mama. A pending free agent at a devaluing position won't fetch much, so the Bengals should be able to get Henry for 2 mid to late draft picks. How about a 2024 4th rounder that becomes the 3rd if the Bengals reach the Super Bowl, plus a 2025 5th round pick? That sounds like a win-win for everybody, and the powerhouse Bengals will have just closed the gap that much more with the other top AFC clubs. Kirk Cousins joins the Falcons flock. The Atlanta Falcons are hanging around in the NFC South playoff race because of a stingy defense and offensive weapons Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Now just imagine if they had slightly above average quarterback play. Yeah, Desmond Ridder ain't it. Arthur Smith's obsession with starting Ridder indicates to us that Atlanta's head coach isn't sold on Taylor Heineke either. So if the Falcons want a quarterback upgrade, we suppose their only option is to explore the trade market. If you're Atlanta, how about targeting Minnesota Vikings QB Kirk Cousins? The 35-year-old is also in his contract year, and it is pretty dang clear that Minnie is not keeping him on past 2023. With the Vikings out of the playoff race, trading Cousins should be an easy call. Imagine him in an offense with a top 5 O-line, Robinson, London, Kyle Pitts, and Tyler Algier. Cousins would go off in Smith's offense here, and it would make Atlanta the overwhelming favorites in the NFC South. A conditional 2023 3rd-round pick and 2025 4th-round picks should get it done here. The conditional 3rd, however, becomes a 2nd-rounder if Cousins ends up re-signing with the Vikings. Saquon joins Steel City. Barkley rushed for a career-high 1,312 yards last year and led the Giants to the postseason plus a wildcard round victory over Minnesota. And yet, the Giants still didn't want to hand him a long-term extension. So who's to think that the Giants will extend Barkley after a train wreck of a 2023 season? You know, one that saw him miss several weeks with an ankle injury? Of course, the Giants aren't returning to the postseason. Of course, Barkley isn't staying, and of course the Giants have to trade him. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has kept them in playoff contention this year, but the woeful ground game has prevented this offense from reaching its full potential. The offense needs a spark, and who better to provide it than Barkley himself? Imagine if Kenny Pickett had Barkley, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson as his main weapons. Barkley's explosive playmaking abilities would give the Steelers a formidable offense for once, and he would make them a much tougher out in January. Speaking of running backs, Najee Harris could certainly use a fresh start. The one-time Pro Bowler hasn't got it going here in 2023, and the Steelers can't afford to wait on him. Barkley to Pittsburgh in exchange for Harris and a 2024 4th-round pick makes a lot of sense for both sides. Barkley gets to chase a ring, while Harris, a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher, gets the chance to rebuild his value as the focal point of the New York offense. Juju Smith-Schuster gets fresh start in Titletown. After winning a Super Bowl 57 ring with the Kansas City Chiefs, Smith-Schuster signed a 3-year deal with the New England Patriots worth $33 million. You know how Juju had 933 yards in KC a year ago? Yeah. Well, he had 86 total yards through his first 5 games with the Pats. Serenity now! Yeah, it's time to move on ASAP. The Green Bay Packers aren't getting much out of anyone on offense except rising star Christian Watson. Aaron Jones hasn't been healthy, and A.J. Dillon hasn't exactly embraced the increased workload with Jones now out. Jordan Love just isn't going to get a fair evaluation if the Packers don't upgrade his supporting cast. So why not take a chance on Smith-Schuster and see if he can bounce back in Matt LaFleur's offense? Betcha Bill Belichick will be thrilled to get out of Smith-Schuster's contract by any means necessary. So how about Juju to the Pack in exchange for a 2025 7th-round pick? Green Bay has ample amounts of cap space to take on Smith-Schuster's contract. When healthy, Juju is a reliable security blanket on third downs who would draw favorable matchups with opposing defenses mostly focused on Watson. Yeah, it's been ugly for Smith-Schuster in New England, but this is a guy with 4 seasons of 800-plus yards on his resume. Surely, he is capable of being a steady WR2 in the right system, and the Packers are more than capable of getting him going again. Cortland Sutton teams up with CJ Stroud. Another disastrous year in Mile High City means a looming fire sale for Denver Broncos general manager George Paton. Wide receivers Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are the Broncos' primary trade chips leading up to the deadline. But if Paton is smart, he'll keep in mind that trading his top 2 wideouts will put his team in primary position to tank for Caleb Williams. Looking at potential suitors for Sutton, the surprising Houston Texans kind of make perfect sense here. DeMeco Ryans' club has exceeded expectations early, and it's largely thanks to the world-class play of rookie QB CJ Stroud. Houston already has 2 stud wideouts in Nico Collins and rookie Tank Dell. But why not add a third to bolster their offense and playoff hopes? Stroud, Collins, Dell, Sutton, and Dameon Pierce together would set the Texans up very well for the long run. Seldom used sophomore wideout John Mechie III could be of interest to Denver. Push down Houston's depth chart, the 2022 second-round pick and Alabama product could flourish in a Sean Payton-coached offense, especially if he were the undisputed WR1 there. Sutton to Houston for Mechie III and a 2025 third-round pick seems like a pretty fair deal for both sides. Hey, make it happen, Texans and Broncos. You both need it. Danielle Hunter goes ring hunting in South Beach. Like Kirk Cousins, the Vikings brass showed no interest in extending Hunter this past offseason. In other words, they're set on moving on from him. Hunter is on pace for his best season yet, and he would fetch a nice return at the trade deadline. Many's other option is to keep Hunter, even though they're out of playoff contention, and let him walk in 2024 free agency. Yeah, I don't know about you, but door number 1 seems like the better play here. Now, the Miami Dolphins' prolific offense has them in contention for the AFC's top seed, but that defense is quietly having a pretty awful year. Jalen Ramsey is returning at some point, sure, but how about additional pass rushing help to deal with the gauntlet of superstar QBs in the AFC? So, how about this? Hunter to Miami in exchange for a conditional 2025 third-round pick that becomes a second if Miami ends up extending Hunter. More draft capital for Minnesota and a game wrecker of a pass rusher to help Miami's struggling defense? Yeah, I think everybody comes out happy here. Ryan Tannehill gets opportunity to save the Jets. Tannehill's play in 2023 has been awful. Malik Willis hasn't been much better, and it's simply surprising to us that Mike Vrabel hasn't given Will Levis a look yet. Henry shouldn't be the only Titan on the trade block this year. Tannehill, who is also in the final year of his contract, has to be traded as well. The New York Jets are hanging around in the playoff race even without Aaron Rodgers. But it's not because of Zach Wilson. It's all thanks to running back Breece Hall and a stingy defense that has caused headaches for Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. Tannehill is cooked in Tennessee, but he would definitely be an upgrade over the struggling Wilson. And Tannehill would just have to play like a game manager with Hall, Garrett Wilson in that defense. He's at the very least more careful with the football than the mistake-prone Wilson. Even if Rodgers returns at some point this year, Tannehill would be a much better short-term Band-Aid option than Wilson. Ravens adds a young star to their defense. While the Lamar Jackson-led offense remains a work in progress, the Ravens D is looking like its top 5 self again under second-year DC Mike McDonald. That said, you can never have too many stud pass rushers in today's NFL that is dominated by high-powered passing games. And with the Ravens residing in the same conference as Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, and Joe Burrow, why shouldn't they make a run at another game-changing edge rusher? Or specifically, Washington Commanders star Chase Young. The Commanders surprisingly declined the 5th-year option on Young's rookie deal, making him eligible to enter free agency in 2024. Considering that they don't at all look like a Super Bowl contender, Washington is best off trading Young rather than watch him leave for nothing. Throw in seldom used 2021 first-round pick and receiver Rashad Bateman, and the Beltway rivals just make perfect sense as trade partners. How about Bateman and a 2024 third-rounder to the Commanders in exchange for Young? Baltimore's D gets a lot scarier, while the Commanders get 2 young assets to help with their retooling phase. Dallas adds Jerry Jeudy to Cowboys herd. Remember what we said about the Broncos on the Sutton Texans entry? Yeah, well, same deal here with Jeudy. Denver has to trade both of its star wideouts pronto and set up the tank for Caleb Williams. Plus, you know, Jeudy could use a fresh start. He's put up fine numbers in Mile High City, but it feels like the Alabama product hasn't hit his full potential yet. Put him in an actual half-decent offense with a top 10 quarterback, and maybe he goes from good to all-pro level. No team makes better sense for Jeudy than the Dallas Cowboys. Jeudy to Dallas in exchange for 2024 second and 2025 fourth-round picks is a fair return. Denver's tank hits go mode, and Dallas gets their much-needed WR2 to complement Lamb. Jeudy, Lamb, Pollard, and Dak with Cooks and Gallup as depth pieces? Yeah, sign us up! At long last, Rams land Brian Burns. After last year's trade deadline, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Carolina Panthers rejected the Los Angeles Rams' lucrative offer for star pass rusher Brian Burns. The Rams offered 2 firsts and a second-rounder, which Carolina curiously declined. But hey, it's not too late to make this happen once and for all. Sean McVay's Rams are right there in the playoff race despite a grueling 5-game schedule to open the year. Clearly, the likes of Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald have lots of football left in them, which means it is the perfect time for Les Snead to go back to his good old habits of giving up first-round picks to win now. Imagine if Burns, coming off a career-high 12.5 sacks, joined forces with this generation's best defensive player in Aaron Donald. The Panthers blew it last year and cannot expect the same offer from the Rams this time around. However, a 2024 first-round pick and a 2025 second-rounder should be enough to get it done. And I think that's more than a fair value for Burns, who's looking destined to leave as a free agent in 2024 if the Panthers don't trade him. But what other 2023 NFL trade deadline deals do you want to see happen? Is there any glaringly obvious ones that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.